What's good, G-Life? It's your boy MC Shadow back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed to the channel. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. I highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? It's absolutely free. You know, you won't get charged, bro. Come on, you can't do no free stuff. Join the G-Life. Now, I was having a discussion, right, with one of my subscribers, right, and we were talking about, overall the ghettos and, the problems in California and the struggles and obstacles that the raza faces, not just the raza, but also the brothers, right? And it's even more sad that, we share the same, struggles and the same obstacles in our path, and yet you still hear the bickering going on, whether Hispanic or blacks, you know, taking shots at each other when it was ridiculous, you know what I mean? It's simply just a skin color, nothing more, nothing less, right? There should be peace amongst, the sides. But anyone that's not here, neither here nor there, right? Because the same thing that was happening in California, and not only California, but in the United States, right? To African Americans, was happening to the raza. So the brothers, as people are aware, before they had these groups of, Americans that would go, lynching and all of that, right? But it wasn't just the brothers that were getting lynched or had to sit in the back of the bus or couldn't be in the same schools or drink out of the same water or none of that. It was also the raza. So not just the brothers were experiencing this, but also minorities in general, right? Including the raza, right? And at some points even Irish, Italians, and Asians, right? Middle Easterns as well, right? It's like we all get our turn, right? But mostly, especially here in California, it was the raza and the blacks, right? Because obviously there were the two other, obviously they were outnumbered at the times, right? People have to keep this in mind. These are different times that we're talking about. So California, even though now you see a lot of Caucasians in it, right? Americans, right? Before it wasn't like that. Before, now you see a bunch of raza, but before it was mostly whites, bro. There was only a little bit of Mexicans, a little bit of blacks, right? You were outnumbered by Caucasians, right? Americans, 10-1, right? There was that many whites here before, right? And why I say that America created the problems, the ghettos, the chaos, right? Is that before, if you were black or Hispanic, you weren't just allowed to live wherever you wanted. Like, you weren't allowed to go and just buy your house or apartment or whatever. You weren't allowed to live wherever you wanted to. There was only certain places that blacks and raza was allowed to live in certain areas in California. That you were only allowed to live here. You weren't allowed to live anywhere else, like where the white folks were. It was forbidden. You know what I mean? You weren't allowed to leave your area either. You couldn't be where these white folks were at, bro. You would get arrested or beaten and sometimes even killed, hanged and everything. They didn't want your kind near them. They didn't feel like you guys were, at their level. You guys were seen beneath, them, less than, humans, right? Like if you guys had like some kind of disease or something like that, like, couldn't associate, and they didn't want you associating themselves with you guys. And these are facts, bro. And it wasn't even that long ago that this was happening, bro. You know what I mean? When they, finally took down the bill, when they finally put it into law where people were now allowed to live, outside of areas and everything, was roughly in the early 70s, bro, when it was taking effect. So from the 70s down, bro, you still had people that weren't allowed to live wherever they wanted to or go wherever you wanted to. You were still getting harassed, mistreated. You couldn't eat in the restaurants where they were at. You couldn't drink out of their water fountains. You couldn't be in the same schools. You couldn't, like I said, you were discriminated against. And these people, for entertainment, they used to, gather up in groups, bro, and drive to these ghetto areas where the raza and the blacks were living and used to, hog-tie them, hang them, chase them, beat them with bats. They were doing all of this. Now I had individuals saying, well, people can't take the law into their own hands. Why, if they really wanted to fix the problem, why couldn't they just go to law enforcement and why couldn't they just call the police officers? People just lack their history, right? See, the thing is that the police were in on it too, bro. The police were a part of the beatings and jumping these people and even arranging these hunts for these individuals. The police officers were in on it, bro. Remember, they were all white police officers, bro. And they were in on it too. They were Ku Klux Klan members. They were Shining Knight members. They belonged to these white criminal organizations. Well, they were seen as clubs before, whatever, but we all know what they were. Gangs, essentially, right? Before gangs even existed, right? So these individuals were taking advantage of blacks and, the raza, because they were outnumbered, bro. You couldn't call the cops. Like I said, cops were in on it, bro. So who could you turn to for help or to protect your ethnicity or yourselves? Well, yourselves, right? That's why these groups finally banded together and started defending their towns, their areas. We're tired of these people coming and taking advantage of our people. So if they come now, we are gonna put our foot down. We are what's gonna defend our towns, our streets, our neighborhoods. Hence where these gangs first started, sprouting and why they started. Right? And in these areas, it was full of a lot of poverty, right? No work, right? Like I said, the injustice, the mistreatment was outrageous, bro. And people forget that. They seem to forget it or just didn't pay attention to their history class or probably weren't even taught this, right? But like I said, this is not speculation, not made up, whatever. These are facts people could go look up. This is history. It's important you learn the history and know why these problems are here and started to begin with. Right? Because the gang members didn't create the meth and the heroin and all that. The government did. Those are the facts. Right? Because they wanted soldiers to be out there in war without having to sleep and eat and everything that they got these scientists, right, to create something in order for their soldiers to take. That way they don't have to eat, sleep, and they could just be out there in combat like robots. That's where they created, methamphetamine and all this and that, right? And then these people now seeing, hey, it's addicting and stuff like that. Hey, we can make some money, and started now selling it to, these guinea pigs as they seen them at the time, right? And now teaching these individuals how to make it for a profit. They taught them how to do this to, poison their own areas. These gang members or these hoodlums or thugs, you think they know about chemistry? You think they have their PhD in chemistry? What the hell were they going to know about that? They weren't even educated. They weren't even allowed to get a proper education. Yet you expect me to believe that they know how to... And people don't even think about this. And they didn't build the guns. These individuals didn't build the guns. So how were they able to pump all these guns into the neighborhoods and everything like that? Where did the guns come from? The government is the ones that supplied the individuals with the weaponry. You're gonna tell me these gang members have secret factories where they manufacture, their own weapons? People can't say home invasions and all that because at this time, like I said, this was not occurring. This was not happening. It hadn't gotten to that point yet. They created the problems. They created the ghettos. They created the slums. They created the areas the way that they are. Yet they want to put the blame on other individuals or blame these individuals or blame this or blame that. Take responsibility. Take accountability for your actions. This is real history. You don't got to take my word for it. You can go educate yourself on it. We can have a conversation in the comments. I'm just saying, shut up, we out.